Welcome back to Big Nick's Meats and Treats. So glad you came back. It's a real windy, blustery fall day here. And so I thought I'd make a real comfy, cozy dish. I'm gonna make dynamite jalapeno and bacon mac and cheese from scratch. And this is gonna be outstanding for those cold fall, wintry days. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do is get our noodles going. So I'm gonna take a 1 pound package of large elbow macaroni. I like the large ones because it gets the cheese down inside there. Get a pot of water boiling and salt it enough that it tastes like the sea. So you want nice and salty water. Put a little bit of vegetable oil in there so the noodles don't stick together. We're gonna get that boiling. Get our noodles poured in there. I'm gonna cook those for about 7 minutes. Okay, so I'll get the timer going. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get 4 cups of milk going in a saucepan, and I'm just going to warm it through. So really low on the stove, don't scald it, and whisk it periodically to make sure that it doesn't get too hot. We're just trying to warm it through. So 4 cups of milk. I'll get that going, and then we'll get started on the cheese sauce. Okay, so my noodles are done cooking. I cooked them for 7 minutes and drained them. Don't rinse them, just leave them drained. Now I put 6 tablespoons of butter in this pan, so that's just shy of a full stick. You're going to need the other 2 tablespoons later on, so save them. And now I'm going to get this over low heat, and I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of flour, and we're going to build a roux here for our cheese sauce. So I'm going to take this 1/2 cup of flour with 6 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to cook this over low heat for a couple of minutes and get a roux going. So I'm going to work on this, and then we'll get back to you in just a second. So I've been cooking the roux over low heat for 2 minutes. A roux is just a combination of flour and fat. In this case, it's flour and butter. So over low heat for 2 minutes. And now I'm going to take my milk that I warmed through, 4 cups, and I'm going to pour that in to the roux. And I'm going to continue to cook that for a couple more minutes until it starts to thicken up. And then I'm going to add my cheese. And then you're also going to want to get your oven preheated to 375 while you're working on this. So I'm going to stir this for a couple more minutes, and then we'll add the cheese and all the goodies. So I've been mixing the roux and the milk mixture with a whisk. It's been about 3 or 4 minutes now, and it's starting to thicken up, and it has a nice light brown color to it. So now I'm going to take it off the heat. I'm going to take it off the heat, and I have 12 ounces of Gouda here. You can use whatever kind of cheese you want. I like Gouda. Some people like Gruyere. So I'm going to put 12 ounces of Gouda in there, and 8 ounces of sharp cheddar. And instead of using a whisk here, I think I'm going to use a wooden spoon so I can mix it nice and good. And I'm going to mix this in until it's nice and velvety smooth. This is going to be our super good, tasty cheese sauce. Oh man, that's melting good. Yeah. The cheddar is going to take a little bit longer to melt than the Gouda. The Gouda melts real fast. So just keep mixing it until that cheddar gets nice and melted. I have also 1 tablespoon of kosher salt and 1 teaspoon of coarse ground pepper. I'm going to add that. And a note on the cheese, I did freshly grated instead of buying the pre-grated stuff, just because there's preservatives and stuff in the pre-grated stuff. So I did freshly grated as far as the cheese goes. So I think that's the best way to go. This cheese is melting good. Earlier I did a fine dice on a 1/2 of a jalapeno. I like it a little bit spicier than that, but the other half of the command center here at Big Nick's Meats and Treats doesn't like it that spicy, so we're going to go with a 1/2 of a jalapeno in here, and that's de-seeded also to keep it from being too spicy. And then I did 4 strips of thick cut bacon that I cooked earlier, and I did a fine dice on that. I'm going to put that in there also. Keep mixing that cheese. Oh man, this looks good. I'm ready to put a spoon in there right now. That looks really good. All right, I'm going to keep mixing this here, and we'll get ready to add the noodles here in just a minute. I'll see you back in a second. My cheese sauce is looking amazing. So now I'm going to take my pound of noodles that I cooked earlier and I'm going to add it to the cheese sauce. And I want to make sure that gets mixed in really good because I want the cheese down inside those noodles. So I'm just going to sit here and mix this until I can get all the cheese down inside those noodles and all that cheesy goodness. Perfect for a cold, rainy, nasty day. I'm going to work on this. And then we'll get going on the topping here in just a second. So I took my cheese and noodle mixture, the macaroni, and I transferred it to a 3-quart Le Creuset dish. I like the Le Creuset because you get the crusty outside when you bake, so I'll put that in there. Now I'm going to take that remaining 2 tablespoons of butter that I had earlier left over from that stick of butter, and I added another tablespoon because more is better. So I got about 3 tablespoons of butter in there. I'm going to take a 1.5 cups of plain breadcrumbs and put the butter in there. And then I'm going to get this all mixed up, and this is going to be our topping for the mac and cheese. So I want to get that butter and breadcrumbs really well mixed in. So I'm going to evenly put the breadcrumbs all on the top of the mac and cheese here, spread it out nice and even. I want everything to be covered. This just gives that an amazing crust on the top that everybody really likes when they eat mac and cheese. Get a nice good coating on there. All right, let's put this baby in the oven. So 30 to 35 minutes. $375, and then we're going to be ready to eat. I'll see you in about a half hour. All right, we cooked it for 32 minutes or so. We're getting ready to take it out. It looks pretty darn good. Oh yeah, ooh, the cheese is oozy. Ooh, look how golden brown that is. Nice. Now that's going to be as hot as lava. So I'm going to let that sit there for a few minutes. Ooh, look at the cheese bubbling. That smells good. I'm going to let that sit for a few minutes and I'm going to dig in. I can't take it any longer. I have to dig into this. It's probably still hot as lava, so I got to be really careful. Get some of that crust on there and the mac and cheese. Look how cheesy that is. Oh, that's ridiculous. Come on now. Seriously. Ooh, that's smoking hot. But oh man, does that smell good. All right, here goes. Hopefully I don't burn myself. Come on now. The breadcrumbs are crusty. That bacon's amazing in there. A little bit of jalapeno in there. The cheese isn't too funky, which I like. You know, some of those cheeses are pretty funky. I really like it. That's so good. If you like the recipe, give me a like and a subscribe. I'll put a link down there at the bottom. Give me that like and subscribe. I appreciate it. And we'll do another recipe before too long. And until then, watch me work, baby. Watch me work.